Yo guys, it's Mike from Chess Lifestyle, and today I am practicing for the Birmingham Rapid Play, which I'm going to be playing on Sunday. The time control is 15 minutes plus 10 seconds a move. So yeah, I thought I'd give it a shot and play this 15 plus 10. I'll be playing on my Ponziani Ghost profile. We got. I don't have the peace of mind to tamper with my 2500 rapid, but we will try the 15 plus 10 on Ponziani Ghost, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time to analyze afterwards as well. I do have a busy schedule of chess lessons today. Let me just double check. I don't have a lesson in the next 15 minutes or something. I'm pretty sure I've got like at least an hour. Yeah, I've got time. Yeah, so basically I'm gonna basically play one of these games. If we can't get an opponent, then oh, this is actually pairing only 500 points up. I think this could take quite a while to get a response. I mean, yeah, the stronger the opponent, the better, of course. Chessable. But we can do some woodpecker as well while we're waiting. So yeah, that's really the plan. I want to try and get some practice. So maybe if I do this and then now move it back up, will this work? Let's try to see if that works. Yeah, so I don't know why. I think it's some glitch on Lichess where it's like getting the parameters a bit confused. But I think anyone above 2200 is already going to be a nice challenge to play and some good practice. But until we get a game, let's just keep going with this. So we're on puzzle 101. I should move my screen to the other side. And yeah, let's solve some tactics while we wait for a 15 plus 10 opponent. This one looks to be this motif with the checkmate in the corner. I don't know why, I always see this one, I feel like. Okay, nice. I think at the very end we fork and we should have a winning endgame. So I think it doesn't matter actually which piece we use to give the check. I'd probably use this one. Okay, doesn't matter. And we get the rook at the end. So I'm glad we're seeing that fork nice and fast. It could be like some double kind of attack with... Oh no, there's a rook on b8, so that's not the case. But there is a double attack like this. The bishop is loose. So whenever you've got a loose piece, you really want to look out for tactics. Now, I seem to remember I got this one wrong. I played this move and it's not working. Like, we need to give the check first and then just win a pawn. So what's actually the problem with this? Why doesn't this win? They can play a move like knight f5 and deal with both threats, right? So we need to be more forcing. So I think that was the idea. Yeah, queen h5, knight f5, g4, rook h6, and even loses. Yeah, that's surprising. Yeah, I guess this knight g3 threat is like really big. Hello Arjun, welcome. Did you sign up for Birmingham? If so, I'll see you in the major section. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm basically waiting for an opponent. We'll get some practice in today. A part of me feels like I just want to take here, and then the threat of taking on h7 should be enough. I mean, my king doesn't experience any checks right now. This doesn't seem to lead anywhere to me, like this kind of attack, so... Oh, it's incorrect? Really? King g8, and then what? Oh, bishop h8, maybe? Oh, bishop h8 is very cool. Ah, man. That's a nice move. I guess that's the thing. Rook takes g7. I guess I don't have like a huge threat. I mean, I just thought like if they play rook b7, I just take on f6, and it has to be winning. So what am I missing? Maybe I don't have a big threat. Maybe after rook takes g7, there's no big threat. I mean, I thought rook takes h7 was a game winner. King takes bishop g5. King g7, queen check, king here, queen check, king here. Maybe they do just enough to survive. Yeah, this is actually... I needed to see this, bishop g7. I dismissed it too soon. I do this a lot, actually. Can I play against you instead? Want to practice rapid? Oh, I mean, Arjun, given that you are playing in the Birmingham tomorrow, I will accept your challenge. I will accept your challenge. Let's do it. I'm gonna do one final woodpecker, and then we'll have our game. I mean, it's like we're both playing in the tournament. It makes sense for us to get some practice in. I feel like rook takes. I want to give this fork at the right time, but when is the right time? Probably we take once at least. Yeah, because right now there's two pieces on this pawn, right? So take once and then push. And the point is, if they take, we can take with check. This looks really strong. Yeah. Okay, nice. Arjun, let us play. Best of luck. I'm going to move my camera back to the other side. And yeah, let's make it a serious game. So, good luck. Let's play. Okay, so despite it being serious, I'm still going to try and commentate the moves. I think that'll make it a bit more interesting. And do I want to play what I'm going to play in the actual event if I happen to play Arjun with the black pieces? I'll start with c6. Let Arjun show his hand. So he's just playing d4. So I have a choice. I can either play Caro-Kann, or I can play Garganetza. Let's play Kara. Let's play Kara. I'm in the mood to experiment with this. And we're getting a Panov. So I can either play knight f6 or knight c6. Knight c6 is actually kind of interesting. I think let's go with knight c6. Because basically, this gives white a few options. White can basically continue with one of the knights, or they can try and be ambitious and take. But definitely, white is not going to be expecting this. Like, everyone, 99% of players play knight here. And the thing is, with knight c3, which is the most common move, we've actually got the move e5. So now I need to make a choice, knight f6 or e5. Knight f6 is just main line. e5 is going to be really interesting. I want to practice my calculation, so let's play this line. I know it's completely fine for black, but yeah, this is gonna be this is gonna be interesting. So I have a little rule to remember, like which way to capture. If they take with pawn, I take with knight. If they take with knight, I take with pawn. And if they take with pawn this way, I push. I don't know why I remember it like that, but it means that I can at least get on the right path if I go into one of these lines. So I think these kind of non-chess ways of remembering what to play is sometimes useful in situations like this, where there are a lot of similar looking captures. So I'm going to try and just reserve my energy for the time being. Because there's no point starting to calculate lines when each of these paths are like really, really deep. Arjun's probably having to make a tough decision right now, which path he's going to go down. But this is like ideal scenario, right? Like your opponent already burns a minute on the clock. We get a bit of a time edge. It's exactly what we're looking for. And the nice thing is we can blitz the next move out really fast. So if Arjun isn't stream sniping, then he won't know that I'm actually not as familiar with the lines as I thought I would be. Or as he might think I might be, right? Like if I blitz out the next move, it might appear that I'm still like completely in book. So takes with the pawn, I take with the knight. So I can play this very quickly. In a real game, I play it with confidence as well. Like these little mannerisms are quite effective. So now we need to actually work out like what's the point of all this. So I know the position is equal, but how? So knight f3 I believe is the main line. And now I need to work out what to do. So I believe bishop g4 is the move here. I have a huge feeling that bishop g4 is correct. Bishop g4, if queen a4 check trying to get out of a pin, what do I play there? Do I go back bishop d7? But it feels like I've made a free developing move if the queen were to go back to d1. So I feel like bishop g4 is my move. There's no other critical move I'm so worried about, so I think bishop g4 I'm just going to play it. I'm pretty sure this was the idea on knight f3. Sure enough to the point that I feel like I don't need to recalculate it. I can just trust my analysis. Like as long as queen a4 isn't winning on the spot, then I'm pretty sure this was the correct move. So what is going on in this position? We've got an equal pawns, but white's got this isolated queen's pawn, which is actually a pass pawn, so we've got to be careful about it. But in return, we have some nice activity. So okay, queen a4 was chosen, and my intuition would be bishop d7. I mean, if queen d7, I really don't like putting my queen and king on this line. So bishop d7 feels right. And if the queen has to go back to d1, then we've definitely gained something in the position, right? So where else can the queen go? The queen can go to c4 as well, but that's just going to get attacked. So I really think this bishop d7 is correct. Yeah, let's play it. This can't be a mistake. I mean, maybe white can also potentially block, but they have to be very careful as well, like that they're not blundering something. Like knight b5 a6, for instance, it could be over already. And I mean, this is the advantage of playing like sharp openings, right? I mean, just in case anyone's coming into the chat just now, like you're welcome to message moves on the chat. I'm not reading chat right now. I'm focusing on the game, and then we'll analyze afterwards. So you're welcome to share your ideas and discuss with the viewers. But yeah, to me, I feel like I've gained something, right? Like, okay, I could play bishop g4 and repeat. But maybe we've gained enough with this move. We can also repeat once and see if Arjun repeats. I mean, this is always a nice tactic as well. But I feel like we have gained something with bishop d7. If we play this, he doesn't have to play queen a4, right? So I feel like we've gained something here. And next we need to find the right way to progress. So the problem is there's two attackers on my knight. There's also an attacker on my pawn. So what move can I play that deals with both? I could play bishop c5. They take here. I play queen e7. Is this interesting? That does look quite interesting. How do we deal with that? Bishop c5 looks nice. Because I mean, we have to defend this knight again. What other options? We can also take on f3. Just take on f3 and then like develop, but are we really doing well there? I mean, he's got this pass pawn, so bishop c5 feels more in the spirit of the position. Am I definitely not blundering something here? If I play like bishop f4 to protect the knight, I've got like f6. I think that works. If queen h5, I can go g6. I think it just about works. I feel like bishop c5 is the idea. Let's try it. Is there any other moves I need to be worried about? Knight a4. There's not really a problem. Let's try this. Let's try this. So my idea is if knight takes, I can just go queen e7. And I think I'm actually winning this knight. I don't see how he deals with this. Because normally they typically want to play queen e2, right? But my knight is covering the square. So this is where I feel like this would be good. And always keep a track of the time. So I'm a little bit lower on the clock. Should be a tiny bit careful about this. The one thing you can't do in Rapid is basically do like a really heavy long think. So you've got to kind of be confident with your answers. Like that bishop c5, I was confident enough to just play it. Like in an ideal world, I'd want to spend even more time looking at even more candidates, just make sure I haven't missed anything. Also give more attention to whether to throw in this extra repetition. Like I wouldn't want to draw, but okay, so bishop e3, again a very logical move, developing a piece. We could do a mass trade, right? We could trade a bunch of pieces. I'm just afraid of this pass pawn. This is my fear. And again, there is more pressure on this knight again. Maybe I could play queen e7. Maybe this like tactically defends it, right? But if queen e7, am I only defending it for one move? Because let's say they play like, I don't know, bishop d3 getting ready to castle. I mean, I always have this plan to bail out, so it's not too bad. I've also got queen f6 as a way to defend. Maybe this is actually better, right? Queen e7 is just a very tactical defense. Unless I've got some follow-up here. That looks nice. I'm not seeing it. Unless there we could play f5. How cool would that be? Play f5 threatening e4? So they'd have to like move back or something. It's really tough to say. I mean, that's one way. The other way is to just play queen f6, but queen f6 just doesn't feel right. I feel like this queen e7, bishop d3, f5 actually kind of makes sense. If queen e7, bishop e2, can I take on e2? Takes on c5. I can always take on c5 and then queen takes e2 and then play f6. I don't know if you guys are seeing that whole line. I think that seems alright. I think queen e7 is the... It's definitely the move in the spirit of the position. And I think we've really got to make this work. I feel like f5 could be super interesting. I don't see a way that white adds another attacker onto my knight on d4. Yeah, but it's definitely it's good experience to play out these positions, because even if like your analysis says you're equal or you're fine, you really need to actually play the position to find out, are you comfortable in the position. It doesn't matter what the engine says. So yeah, this is a moment where I was trying to weigh up this takes on e2. Takes on e2, if they take on c5, I take on c5, they take on e2. If the queen, I play f6. Doesn't seem so bad, to be honest. I mean, they could try sack the knight, but I don't think that's any good. I mean, the thing is, right now, the problem is that he's actually threatening to take this, right? I'm actually not able to protect it. So I'm kind of forced into this, actually. So I think let's just go for it. I don't really see an alternative. Takes on f3 and then takes on e3 would change the pawn structure, but I don't even know if it's for the better, because if I can't push e4, but maybe I could have played f5 there. That maybe could have been interesting. Maybe this could have been interesting. So actually he's not going to take on c5, which means I can actually retain the bishop pair. But I wonder, if I play bishop d6, he can always play knight e4. But then I can throw in bishop b4 check and I don't lose time. Bishop d6 would be my feeling here. I mean, I could also play f6. Don't know how I feel about that for my knight though. I feel like bishop d6 blockading this pawn is going to be really important, actually. I think let's try it. I think keeping the bishop pair makes sense. I think knight e4 moving the same piece again, I don't think it's going to be like critical to the point where I'm like lost or something. And the thing is, if white castles here, with the point being that knight e4, then I don't have bishop b4 check, I might be able to get away with f5. This is my thinking. And then I basically get to keep the bishop on d6. I mean, maybe this is also a bit annoying though. I don't know if I can stop both. And f5 is extremely ambitious. Like, I mean, there's definitely an argument to be said about just playing knight f6 and castling. I mean, f5 also feels good, to be honest. But knight f6 also just makes a lot of principled sense. Knight f6 also stops the threat of knight e4. It also deters this move because maybe I can get away with taking. Probably I should just play knight f6. I think knight f6 makes most sense. I shouldn't be... f5 is too much to ask for. I mean, like Arjun has played like all principled moves. Like I really can't get away with like a move like f5. Like if white had spent some time like making some slow moves, then maybe I can get an f5, but it doesn't make sense that I should be able to get away with that. Okay, so we've used almost half the time on the opening, which is definitely too much time. But at least we're aware of it. A6 definitely feels like a nice move to play to stop this, but we do weaken our dark squares, so we've got to watch out for these kind of ideas. I know It's not possible just yet, but it is a big call to make, this a6 move. Especially when we can just zap the knight as well. Like, the bishop's actually a pretty good blockader of this pawn. Probably should just prioritize castling. Yeah. Maybe if we have all the time in the world, we can consider a move like a6, but it's definitely not the priority. Like, we got to get our king a bit safer. I think this is important. One other idea on knight b5 is potentially we can play with knight e8, with the point being that we want to blockade with a knight. That's the better piece. We do have to be careful of whether they can try and snag a pawn though. We might lose that. So, Arjun's basically giving us the move to decide what we want to do. There are many moves I want to play. h6, maybe rook c8, maybe even rook d8 eventually to put pressure on this file. Depends, are we going to try and win it or are we going to try and play around it? So it's an isolated pawn, therefore we want to play with major pieces. We want to trade more minor pieces. So maybe when this comes we actually are very happy to trade. To me, it makes sense to put the rook on d8. Maybe we don't want to discourage them trading. I mean, it depends how much of an asset this bishop is going to be. Like, is the bishop actually strong in this open position? I feel like it could be. I think let's put... The thing is, how annoying is this pin? If we play h6, they can keep the pin on. Now we've castled, we definitely don't really want to be playing g5, so maybe it's worth playing h6. I mean, it doesn't seem like a priority to play rook d8. So maybe h6 is just a very useful move. And we've got to keep remembering it is rapid. Like, as soon as we get to a situation where we have 30 seconds and Arjun's got 2 minutes, because he's 2 minutes ahead, he can really put a lot of pressure on us if he uses the time situation well. So we don't want to get into that situation. So this makes sense. I don't want to allow this pin, even if Arjun wasn't going to play it, even if it wasn't good. It's also just a very useful move. That's my feeling. Okay, so now is the big question, do we want to spend time playing a6? The thing is, can white ever transfer a knight into b6? That would be horrible if they can, or to c5. So as long as we've got tabs over the square, I feel like a6 should be fine. I mean, they can play bishop b6, but I don't really see it as being such an issue. And is this pawn completely safe? Can they ever reroute a knight to attack this pawn? Maybe they can play knight d2, knight c4? How bad is that? Maybe I'm also very happy to trade minor pieces as well. It's a tough one. I'm realizing one potential mistake of h6 is that I can't really go f6 later because my light squares will just be too weak. I mean, maybe I can, but maybe that was something to consider. I think we should start with a rook move. I still think a6 is a bit too committal right now. Like, for instance, a6, then this square is weak. So I kind of want to have rook on d8. I think this makes sense. I really want to work out where my pieces are going. Do I even want to play with f5, for instance? Is this like a nice idea, or is this just weakening? I mean, it weakens the g6 square. Maybe I don't want to allow that. I need more of a plan though. I think I would be happy to see knight b5 because this trade and just improve the rooks this way. I have a bit more space to basically achieve what I want to achieve. I need an actual plan. Okay, so Arjun is beginning his reroute. I feel like knight e8 is the perfect remedy to this plan. Unless we want to play bishop b4 and try and trade a minor piece by force. Something feels wrong about that. Let's play knight e8. It's a bit of a weird move, but the point is I want to be able to support my bishop this way. If I can plant a knight on d6, I'm feeling quite good, I think. I'm also very curious about this idea of maybe playing b6. Like, in such a position that's still a middle game, I think putting the pawns on dark squares to limit the potential of this bishop is actually very sensible. Because I don't really want a situation where white can play this bishop c5 or even establish the bishop on this diagonal. So I think b6 might be useful to deal with that. And I think we need a few fast moves. I mean, I don't think these decisions are going to cost me the game, but being down on the clock might. So I need to try and speed up if I can. Is this where I want b6? Probably. He's got an interesting sacrifice. Don't think it works though. Let's play b6. I mean, actually, this knight b5 was potentially this was one of my ideas, right? To trade off this knight. But the thing is, if I trade off this knight, I suddenly feel like my control over the position is a bit unclear. Like the knight and bishop get in the way of each other, and I lose control over c6. Just didn't feel right to just zap off that knight. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, I know principally speaking I should be trading minor pieces, but I want to trade on my terms. If I trade on my opponent's terms, it can get a bit ugly. So I will take that knight at some point, but I need to time it correctly. The other very important thing is that we're getting close to neck and neck on time. So I'm really glad and proud that this game, like I'm really self-conscious of the clock situation. Also, white's in a little bit of annoyance, right? Because they can't play knight c4 yet without dropping their knight. Which is very nice. So their plan is a little bit stunted. I've got really great control over the c-file. I'm blockading this pawn like a boss. So this feels good. So do I want to be playing for some active plan right now? I probably do. But what? Maybe f5. f5 definitely feels like the right way to go. I mean, I could try a move like king h8 as well before playing f5. f5 I think makes a lot of sense. Ah, my knight has come this way. So I could play f5 now, provoke knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. And what's happening there? We have these opposite colored bishops. I think we could get something going there, you know? I think it looks alright. I mean, do we have any alternatives? Like, what if we don't play f5? Do we have like some kind of active plan? We could also zap this knight and then play f5 and try and get this situation. Get the knight against the bishop. How does that look? So they can enter on c6, but what are they doing on c6? If they don't achieve anything on c6, then I'm not too bothered. Maybe that's an interesting idea as well. Bishop takes. And then f5. So if f5 then, and they just like drop back or something, like knight c3, am I really happy there? I guess I can always play knight f6, and that feels a bit more comfortable. I think I want to go for it. I don't see how them having the c6 square actually works for them. This is the position I want. If I can get this knight on d6, I feel like I have a slight edge, or at least a position that I'm comfortable playing. I guess my only concern is that my opponent has the c-file, has a very active queen as well. Like whether they'll be able to make use of this activity, this might be tough. So okay, they don't trade. I can play for knight f6 for sure. I can also think about pushing like f4 e4. Like this kind of play looks really interesting as well. f4 e4, rook e1, knight f6. Looks really promising, you know. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. I think we need to create some initiative of our own. I am a bit afraid that white gets something on the queen side, so I think this makes sense. And play with e4. I don't think we're dropping the pawn. I don't see how. I think we go for it. It's maybe a tad risky, but I really believe that the knight is going to be strong here. And the pressure of pushing f3 or e3, I think this looks really good. My feeling. Can I actually try and push f3 in a way that works? Definitely feels premature right now. It feels like e3 is more of the way to go if I am going to go down this road. I feel like I want my knight on a better square first, like on f6, before pushing e3, because then it can kind of jump into the game. But yeah, definitely this e3 push looks interesting. Alright, let's play knight f6. No question. And that means we can also support the pawn with rook e8. Okay, we've also got a nice time advantage. If we can really put the pressure on the clock, like play a few quick moves, if Arjun hasn't realized that he needs to speed up, we might get a really nice practical edge. If we can find some like logical moves, so rook e8, what else do we want in the position? Where do we want our king? On h8 maybe? Do we want to be pushing g5, g4 as well? Maybe then we want a rook on g8 and the other rook on e8 and push g5, g4 and just go all in. That actually looks really nice. The only question there is if my bishop needs security. Okay, that kind of provokes us to push rook e8 instead. Do we have any options? Don't really see any options aside from... Also, bishop c5 actually, as a move, might be very interesting to play at some point. We should make sure this is secured though, so let's start with this move. I don't see any downsides of it, so I think like just giving Arjun a bit more to think about with this queen coming into h2 potentially is definitely something I want to do. So e3, pawn takes, if bishop or rook takes... Aha, he's gone f3. Wow. So my idea would be to just push e3 and just claim that this has to be good. I could also throw in bishop c5 check, if that's useful. Goes to h8, h1. Need to make a decision. Nah, let's blockade the pawn. Makes more sense to blockade it. Let's just push. Let's just push. The bishop's also on a good square protecting f4 in case my queen needs to move. I also have this idea as well, which looks pretty strong. But what do I want to do? I could also play it now. Maybe that's actually a bit more dangerous. That actually looks really tricky for Arjun to deal with, so I think very tempted to go for it. If they play b4, I could take the knight. B4 is interesting. But b4 is also weakening. I feel like this is very tricky. Because if Arjun goes to one of these squares, they've even got knight h5. And it just feels like it's uncomfortable somehow. Like, I hope my pieces don't get tangled up and I do find a way to break through. I need to be careful about like this pressure of the queen as well. Just keep a mental note of that. Maybe this bishop c5 stuff is a bit premature. Maybe I should have built up the attack a bit more first. Because it's actually unclear what white is even trying to do. It just felt very tempting to go for this. Maybe I can just play rook d8 and drop my pawn, which I was trying not to do. I could also play a5. That's actually a very cool move. This kind of limits the knight in some ways. I don't know. It's actually a tricky position. What's my plan? I can also go g5, h5, g4. Takes. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes the most sense, actually. I should just go get on with that. Start with g5. Yeah, this makes the most sense to me. I feel like the d pawn isn't going to cause me enough trouble, and this h5, g4 is very difficult to stop. Okay, and we're both down to a minute, but I have an extra 30 seconds. This makes a huge difference in these kind of situations, especially now that he's going to have to defend. Okay, so he's got a little trick. We can play bishop d6 and basically keep that pawn from going forward. That definitely feels like the move I want to play. I actually like the fact that the pawn stays. I mean, the pawn actually blocks up his pieces, so I think this is exactly what I want. So maybe knight b5, yeah. Okay, I can take with the queen. The queen's not the best blockader. Maybe I'd want to use the rook. It's probably a better piece. You can take on a7, I play h5 because knight c6. Oh, that's actually a fork. Let's play h5 anyway. I think we need to just get on with this attack. And he's trying to come in, so I guess king g7 makes the most sense here. Don't want to allow any of this. And next we're gonna want to play g4 if we can. Looks really strong still. Or is it? I'm having my doubts actually, because when I push g4, he actually doesn't have to respond. That's my fear. It's actually very annoying. I want to get off this line. If he takes, pushes, I don't think I'm losing there. But I'm definitely under some pressure. Okay, now I'm the one who's a minute down. This is not good. Definitely not good. And that bishop has somehow become very strong. Yeah, it's getting really messy. Super, super messy. Can I do that? I don't even know. I was looking at some tricks with knight g4 check when the queen was on f5, but I couldn't make it work. If he takes on f6, I take the queen. Takes back, I take the bishop. Oh, he throws that in. That's kind of clever. So we're going to get this endgame. I want to keep my rook on this. Probably play with this rook then. I also wanted to get my rook in though. I don't know. I feel like the king is misplaced there. That's my feeling. He's definitely still under some pressure. If I can get my rook to the second rank. I'm glad I covered this push with my king. Personally, I feel like this is anyone's game still. I don't think there's any threat here. The push, I just take it. So I think let's go like all out. If he pushes, I just take it with the king. I don't see the threat. So I think we go all out for the attack here. And we're both getting low on time, so this is nice. That feels way too slow. So what, rook g1? And now what? My queen, check, check, check. Maybe I've got a draw there, but I want a bit more. Really? That feels like pure panic. I mean, thank you very much. Yeah, what was that? I mean, you could try rook g1. It's not great, but... Alright, so there must be a win already. Question is what? Okay, I want to give the checks here first. Maybe build up a little bit of time and then make sure I find the right move here. Is this winning? Should be, right? Yeah, I think this should be winning. And then probably taking the pawn is safest. I actually didn't see that push. I mean, it was only once the position was reached that I saw it. That's kind of how these games go. Like, it's not always easy to calculate everything. So now we'll just threaten checkmate. And probably, do we want to just go here? That allows a check. We could come here as well. Then they go back. Probably this is simplest. So they have to give a check. And where do I want to put the king? Probably this side. Bring it towards the enemy king. And I think this is game. Whew. So yeah, I went down to 1 second at one point. So that was a bit close. But yeah, good game. Good game margin. Let's have a very quick analysis because, yeah, GG. Yeah, that wasn't easy. That was not easy at all. Let's have a look. I want classical. Oh, I'm not added to the study. What should I? Where should I add this? Where should I add this? I'll add it to my Caro-Kann study for now. You can have a look. Here. Yeah, I'll rejoin chat. What are people saying? Apparently it's Kramnik Jospin match. Yes, I'm so excited. Do you know if like it's on stream somewhere or something? Why so early? Sorry, wrong account. Hello. I mean, why not? Why not? We stream at any time, any place. Why not rook g5 check to relieve pressure? Tricky if you can tell me what move. Then that would be good. Rook d6 felt like the mistake for Arjun. Yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely like Arjun was playing some nice pressure. Definitely, I felt like rook d6 was incorrect as well. I mean, probably the rook just needs to get active somehow. Whether it attacks this pawn, this pawn, this pawn, I don't really know. But as soon as it goes here just to defend the pawn, my rooks were the ones actually getting active. I mean, I would even have some argument to say rook e2 is best. This is my feeling. Arif, what is this hate? What is this hate? Like, I don't teach you for like 2 weeks, and now I'm an enemy. Aye. Okay, let's understand this. I think getting in g3 before rook c2 was the play. Huh. But does g3 help? I guess you're trying to remove that pawn. Makes sense. Okay, let's have a look. So I remembered this much, and I remembered bishop g4. That's good. Queen a4, bishop d7, queen d1. Aha, bishop c5. So okay, I found all of this. I mean, bishop g4 basically gives white another chance to not play queen a4. And yeah, this bishop e3. What's going on here? Bishop c5. Yeah, and there's this crazy line of knight takes d4, which is... Oh no, not knight takes e5. There's some queen sack line. Yeah, this one. This is like some crazy queen sack line, which I was looking into. And trying to understand how this goes. But no chance do I have to evaluate that. I mean, maybe I can give it some thought later. But yeah, this was nice. And then, okay, yeah. As soon as I took on e2, I had this feeling that taking on f3 was was also interesting to basically get this pawn structure. But I thought that it doesn't actually work if I can't play e4, because if you can play e4 yourself, then it's good. But this is apparently annoying. Queen h3? No, queen h6. Hitting this, and apparently this is good. I don't really understand this. Don't understand this at all. Knight f6. Castles. Knight e4. I mean, what happens if white just plays a move like e4? Apparently I'm just better. Does anyone understand this? Why is this minus 0.6? Where is my compensation? Like, if I just castle here, like, why can't they just castle? So I just put a knight on e8. Am I just playing for f5? Like, what's the play? Let's say they just, I don't know, do something with their rooks. Okay, I win a pawn here, so maybe not. Or do I not even win the pawn? Just play knight d6. This is so calm. Like, how is this so good for me? And then f5. Wow. I mean, when I first see this, I imagine that white's better. But actually, with f5 coming in, then it kind of makes sense. The fact that my knight gets this good square. And my king is just safer. Really interesting. Really interesting that that's actually working. But yeah, I chose this. And yeah, I wanted to play f5. But I was just like, I didn't think I could get away with it. I just felt that I'm too underdeveloped. Arjun has played too principally right now. Were these pictures actually of me? Some of them were, yes. And I presume you got this from one of my old YouTube videos. Even a beginner would know this is better. Arif, you gotta stop with the passive-aggressive hate. I'm actually gonna ban you if this continues. Like, it's supposed to be a positive community here. Come on, we gotta do better than this. But yeah, f5 I don't really understand. I don't really understand like how I can get away with this. I mean, it's definitely the move I want to play to basically control these squares, but it's surprising to me that there isn't like some kind of like useful way to progress the position. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the thing. Like, this setup's actually very, very solid. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah. Yeah, so interesting that I can actually get in f5. I guess it makes sense. Like, I couldn't see something that was good for white, so this makes sense. And then yeah, I'm glad to see b6 as top move, which is why I eventually played. Like, I didn't want to like commit with the pawns just yet, but I'm glad to see that a6 was a mistake and b6 was good. And I was, for the longest time, I was trying to make a6 work, but b6 is definitely the way to go in terms of like shutting out that bishop. So I'm glad I made that correct decision. Aha. Yeah, and then I went for this plan, which actually Engine likes. And wow, the immediate e3 is already working. Takes. And bishop takes, and I'm somehow better here. Queen e5. I guess that makes sense, actually. Queen d3. What, are we going for this already? And the knight comes this way to not block the rook. Okay. Or rook d7 to try and swing round. Makes sense, actually. I mean, it feels a bit risky, though, to give up everything for this. Ah, knight e4. I did not see this tactic. And I was thinking, is with f3 the point, but apparently not, because of bishop c5. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you can retreat and hit the queen. That's really, really deep. That's cool. But rook c4 is apparently strong. Yeah, these are the kind of tactical moves like I would miss. But when you play aggressively like this in a rapid game, it's you get away with it a bit more because the opponent doesn't have the time to find these resources. So I managed to get this stable advantage. And my plan here was just to push this, but the problem is I actually don't have a way to progress there. Like, unless I have all the time in the world to open up this g-file on my terms. But I couldn't really see this. But yeah, like... Yeah, I basically went for this and then changed my mind. And actually, this is where actually things got a bit out of control. And I felt like, actually, Arjun was making some very useful moves to improve his position. And probably here, I don't know if I missed something. Like, I was very close. I mean, I really wanted to make knight g4 work, but then bishop here, I don't think knight g4 is working, because I just lose a piece. And then I was threatening it here, queen e6 was good. Then I tried this idea. h4 is really difficult to spot. I think this decision is actually kind of smart, but the problem is that you don't actually stay a pawn up because I'm going to play king f6, and I'm proud of finding this move. And yeah, my suggestion of rook d4, like, you got to try and keep the rook active in some way, and maybe this is the way, but how does this actually work? You can't take this pawn. It's tough to say. I guess that's why it says black is slightly better. I mean, this is just such a bind. The woodpecker method is clearly not working. Arav, what are you saying about what? Like, yeah, I mean, this is just not. Like, rook g1 is definitely like the only move, but then how to continue? I think I wanted to play f2 and then I could push the pawn, and maybe try and engineer something like this, but it's also not clear. I mean, definitely, yeah, I think I was looking into this kind of stuff, but it's definitely not easy to. And wow, king f5 is already a draw, right? So like, there are definitely ways I can choke this. But king d5, and why is this winning? I need to go in like 1 minute, but why is this winning? So if they just play like a nothing move, what's my actual game plan? Rook g5, rook here. Guess that makes sense. And they can't really leave because then I crash through, right? So they're basically, there's two weaknesses, right? The g2 and the promotion. So it makes sense. But yeah, unfortunately at this point Arjun just completely collapsed, which I think means that like a tip I can have for Arjun if you when you play this Birmingham Open is it's really important that you try not to get into time trouble, because it seems like you yeah, to allow this rook takes g2 was really a big blunder. So avoiding this gives you some hope. So just don't allow yourself to get so low on time. Like just keep in mind, like maybe make like 1 minute flagging as opposed to, you know, getting down to 10 seconds, because yeah, how much time? You had 30 seconds here. Yeah, and over the board it will go down even faster. So yeah, but yeah, very interesting game. Thank you for the warm-up. Yeah, my tournament is on Sunday, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I have a lesson to teach now, so I'm gonna head off. And okay, hope you guys found the game interesting, and see you guys all tomorrow. Okay, bye.